What would you do if the man everyone laughed at was the most dangerous person in the room? Not the loudest, not the strongest looking, but the most lethal. The dojo smells of sweat and polish. Wooden floors gleam under fluorescent lights. 20 students in crisp white GIs fold themselves into neat rows, back straight, eyes forward. Steven Seagal moves like water between them. At T58, he doesn't look impressive to outsiders. His once black hair, now streaked with silver, pulled back in a thin ponytail. Stomach softened with age. Movements deliberate, unhurried, almost sluggish to the untrained eye. The new students always smirk. They always do. Steven notices, but says nothing. 30 years teaching Aikido builds patience. Patience deeper than oceans. He demonstrates a wrist lock. Simple movement. Efficient. No wasted energy. The students pair off. Hands grasp wrists. Bodies pivot. Some flow smoothly. Others stumble. Steven corrects them with gentle touches. A finger here. An adjustment there. I in the corner. 3 young men whisper. Muscled. Tattooed. MMA fighters slumming it at the traditional dojo because their coach insisted they learn the old ways. They're not whispering quietly enough. That old man is a joke. Did you see that ponytail? Bet I could take him in 5 seconds flat. Steven hears everything. Always does. But his face reveals nothing as he helps a teenage girl perfect her stance. The dojo door slides open. All heads turned. A man enters. Tall. Imposing. Dressed in black from neck to boots. A scar runs from temple to jaw. This is Victor Kraus, 3-time underground fighting champion. Banned from professional competition for excessive brutality. The whispering stops instantly. Real recognizes real. And everyone recognizes danger. Victor's eyes scan the room. Lock on to Steven. Little Steven Seagal. Still playing with your little hand tricks? The dojo falls silent. Even the clock seems to hold its breath. Steven straightens. Turns slowly. Faces Victor with hands loose at his sides. This is a place of learning, Victor. You're welcome to join the class. Victor laughs. A sound like gravel in a blender. Learning? Is that what you call it? These kids should be at a real gym. Learning real fighting. The 3 MMA students shift uncomfortably. One steps forward slightly, as if gravitating toward Victor's orbit. Steven's voice remains calm. Undisturbed water. There are many paths to mastery. Victor steps closer. Looms over Steven. Only one path to finding out who's really the best. And it isn't playing patty cake in pajamas. He reaches out, flicks Steven's GI with contemptuous fingers. The 3 young fighters snicker. Permission granted. Steven doesn't move. Doesn't blink. Just watches Victor with eyes that have seen everything and forgotten nothing. Maybe a demonstration. Then, Victor's smile widens. Predatory. Old man, I would break you in half. The students watch, transfixed. The teenage girl Steven was helping backs away, eyes wide. Steven nods once. Gestures to the center of the mat. After you. Victor steps onto the mat. Rolls his shoulders. Cracks his neck. A show for his new audience. The 3 young fighters edge closer. Phones appear in hands. Ready to capture the humiliation, Steven walks to the wall. Bows to the small shrine there. Turns and steps onto the mat. No stretching. No performance. Victor circles like a shark. Steven stands still. Center point in a spinning room. This'll be quick, old man. Victor lunges. Fast for his size. A freight train of muscle and malice. Steven pivots slightly. Just enough. Victor's fist grazes air where Steven's jaw had been a millisecond before. The momentum carries Victor forward. Steven's hand touches Victor's elbow. Gentle as a butterfly landing. But Victor suddenly finds himself off balance. Stumbling. His own force turned against him. He recovers. Faces Steven again. Eyes narrowed. Lucky dodge. This time Victor feints left, strikes right. A combination that's dropped dozens of opponents. Steven reads it like a children's book. Moves with minimal effort. Victor finds himself grabbing emptiness. Then a pressure point between thumb and forefinger ignites with pain. Victor yanks his hand back. Confusion crosses his face. Then anger. The 3 young fighters have stopped snickering. Their phones lower slightly. Victor charges. Full commitment. Now. A tackle that would shatter concrete. Steven steps aside. A matador with an invisible cape. His hands find Victor's wrist, shoulder, apply the gentlest pressure at exactly the right points. Victor's world spins. The ceiling replaces the floor. He lands hard on his back. Air exits his lungs in a whoosh. The dojo is utterly silent now. Steven stands over him. Not in triumph. Not even breathing hard. Aikido isn't about fighting, Victor. It's about resolving conflict. The first lesson is learning to fall. Victor scrambles to his feet, face dark with rage and humiliation. This isn't over. Seagal that he backs toward the door. Points at Steven with a trembling finger. You got lucky today. But I'm coming back. And I'm bringing friends. Real fighters. We'll see how your magic tricks work then. Victor slams the door behind him. The sound echoes through the dojo like a gunshot. The three young fighters stare at Steven with new eyes. Not respect yet, but something like caution. Steven turns to his students. Straightens his GI. Now, where were we? Ah, yes. Wrist locks. Please continue. Class resumes. But something has changed. The air feels different. Charged with the electricity of witnessing something unexpected. Something true. The teenage girl Steven was helping raises her hand. Sensei? Why didn't you hurt him when you could have? Steven's eyes crinkle slightly at the corners. The closest he comes to smiling. The greatest victory is the battle not fought. Outside, Victor Krause makes a phone call. His voice tight with fury. Get everyone. I don't care what they're doing. That old man is finished. They whisper about Steven. Seagal now not mockery this time, but something closer to myth. That thing with Victor Krause. Did you see it 5 seconds and the champion was down? Without even a punch thrown, the dojo seems smaller today. More students have appeared. Word travels fast in martial arts circles. They come to see the man who humbled Victor Krause without breaking a sweat. Steven teaches as always. No acknowledgement of his growing reputation. No special demonstrations. Just the patient transmission of an art he has spent decades perfecting. The three young MMA fighters watch from their corner. Their postures have changed. Less slouching. More attention. Eyes tracking Steven's every move. After class, one approaches. The youngest. Name patch reads Carter. Sensei, could you show me that thing you did? With the wrist? Steven nods. Demonstrates slowly. Explains the principles of redirection. The physics of balance. The psychology of conflict. Carter listens intently. Tries the movement. Fails. Tries again, not. Strength. Connection. Feel your opponent's intention before they do. The dojo door slides open again. A woman enters. Silver-streaked hair pulled into a severe bun. Sharp eyes behind sharper glasses. Principal Eleanor Ward of Red Rock Martial Arts Academy. The prestigious school that feeds champions into international competition. The room stiffens. Principal. Ward rarely leaves her domain. Her presence here means something significant. She surveys the dojo with barely concealed disdain. Her gaze lands on Steven. Mr. Seagal. A word. They speak in hushed tones by the shrine. Students pretend not to eavesdrop while straining to hear every word. The regional tournament is next month. My students will be participating. I expect yours will not. Steven's face remains impassive. My students train for self-improvement, not trophies. Principal Ward's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Noble sentiment. Though I wonder if it's principal or the knowledge they'd be embarrassed that keeps them away. She glances at Carter attempting the wrist technique Steven taught him. I see you've taken an interest in one of our academy dropouts. Carter couldn't handle our regimen. Too soft. Steven's eyes flick to Carter, then back to Ward. Different soils grow different trees. Ward's smile hardens further. Poetic. But in the real world, winners win and losers philosophize. She turns to leave, then pauses. Oh, I almost forgot. Victor Krause now works for me. Head combat trainer at the academy. He mentioned your encounter. Said it was quite educational. The threat hangs in the air like smoke. After she leaves, the dojo buzzes with whispered conversations. Steven continues teaching as if nothing happened. But his oldest student, Miyako, notices a shadow cross his face. Brief as a passing cloud. Later, after everyone leaves, Miyako finds Steven in the small office behind the dojo. He sits at a desk worn smooth by years. Before him lies an old wooden box, lacquered black. A pattern of cranes in flight decorates the lid. Miyako has never seen this box before. Sensei, Steven closes the box quickly. Slides it into a drawer. Just old memories. Miyako hesitates at the threshold. Principal Ward. The tournament. Victor. Should we be concerned? Steven rises. His movements betray no worry. Concern adds weight to the shoulders. We train to remove weight, not add it. But Miyako has known Steven for 15 years. Sees what others missed. Is it true? About Victor working at the academy now? Steven nods once. The academy trains champions. Victor knows how to win. Miyako steps closer. But at what cost? I've heard stories about their methods. How they break students who can't keep up. How injuries are badges of honor. Steven's eyes grow distant. There are many paths to power, Miyako. Not all lead to wisdom. The next morning brings rain. Heavy drops. Drum against the dojo roof. Students arrive with dripping coats and umbrellas. Carter comes early. Practices the wrist technique before class. Again and again. Steven watches silently from the doorway before making his presence known. You're improving. Carter startles, then bows. Thank you, sensei. I want to get it right. Steven demonstrates again. This time Carter feels it. The moment of connection, the redirection of energy. His eyes widen. I felt it. Steven nods. Satisfaction flickers across his face. The path begins with a single step. More students arrive. Class begins. But today there's a new tension in the air. Several students from the academy have joined, wearing their distinctive red GIs. They train with mechanical precision. Watch Steven with calculating eyes. During partner practice, one academy student works with Carter. He's taller, broader. His name patch reads Jackson. Their practice turns aggressive. Jackson applies techniques with unnecessary force. Carter winces but doesn't complain. Steven notices. Approaches. Aikido is not about dominance. It's about harmony. Jackson's smile is all teeth. The academy. We believe pressure creates diamonds, sensei. The honorific sounds like an insult in his mouth. Steven demonstrates the correct pressure. The precise amount of force needed. No more, no less. Jackson nods, but his eyes remain cold. After class, Carter lingers again. His wrist is red where Jackson gripped it. They're all like that at the academy. It's why I left. Steven examines Carter's wrist. Applies gentle pressure to specific points. The pain visibly recedes. Why did you start martial arts, Carter? Carter looks down. My dad thought it would make me tougher. Less of a disappointment. Steven's eyes soften almost imperceptibly. And what do you think? Carter considers. I think I was looking for the wrong strength. Steven nods. Tomorrow, come an hour early. There's something I want to show you. That night, Steven stays late. Alone in the dojo, he opens the black lacquered box again. Inside lies a faded photograph. A younger Steven stands beside an elderly Japanese man. Both wear traditional hakama. The old man's hand rests on Steven's shoulder. Beneath the photograph, a folded piece of silk. Steven unwraps it carefully to reveal an ancient wooden tanto, a training dagger, carved from a single piece of heartwood, worn smooth by decades of hands. A simple pattern of 5 rings decorates the handle. Steven holds it, weighs it in his palm. His eyes close briefly. The dojo phone rings, shattering the silence. When Steven answers, the voice on the other end is Victor's. Enjoying your little sandbox while you can, old man? The academy is coming for your students. For your reputation. For everything. Steven's reply is measured. The door is always open. Victor. Even to you. Victor's laugh is harsh. Oh, we'll be coming through your door all right. Just not the way you think. The line goes dead. Steven replaces the phone. Looks at the tanto in his hand. The 5 rings catch the light. Outside, the rain continues to fall. Morning light filters through paper screens. Dust motes dance in golden beams. Carter arrives early as promised. Finds Steven kneeling in meditation. The dojo is different in this hour, empty of voices, full of history waiting. Steven opens his eyes. Nods once to Carter. Thank you for coming. Carter bows awkwardly. Still learning the rituals. Still uncomfortable in his own skin. Steven rises in one fluid motion. Age seems to fall away from him in these unguarded moments. Before you learn more, I need to understand why you left the academy. Carter shifts his weight. Eyes dart to the floor. They said I wasn't academy material. Steven waits. Silence has always been his most effective teacher. Carter continues after a moment. There was this training exercise. 2 students hold you down. A third practices strikes. Real ones. Not pulled. They called it pressure testing. His voice drops. I tapped out. Said it was too much. Principal Ward said if I couldn't handle it, I didn't belong there. That I was weak. Steven's face remains impassive, but something flickers behind his eyes. And what did Victor Krause say? Carter's shoulders tensed. He was the one who designed the exercise. Said it separated the fighters from the pretenders. Stephen nods, as if confirming something he already knew. And now? Carter looks up. Now I'm not sure what I am. Stephen walks to the wall, where wooden training weapons hang in perfect alignment. He selects 2 bakken, wooden swords. Today we learn something different. For the next hour, Stephen shows Carter the most basic sword forms. Not fighting techniques, but movements designed to align body and mind. To extend awareness beyond physical boundaries, Carter struggles at first. His academy training pulls him toward aggression, speed. Stephen corrects him gently. The sword is not a weapon. It is a teacher. By the time other students begin arriving, Carter has learned 3 forms. His movements are still rough, unpolished. But something has changed in his eyes. A quieter focus. The day's regular classes proceed normally. Until mid-afternoon, when the door slides open during children's practice. 3 Academy instructors enter. Red GIs crisp as fresh wounds. Victor Krause walks between them, his scar more pronounced in daylight. Stephen continues teaching the children as if no interruption has occurred. Now, remember to keep your back straight. Good. Again, the academy instructors line up against the wall, arms crossed. Watching the children sense the tension. Their movements become hesitant, self-conscious. Stephen claps once. That's enough for today. Thank you all for your excellent work. The children bow, scatter to waiting parents. Small voices fill the reception area with excited chatter that fades as they leave. Now Stephen turns to his uninvited guests. Class is over. The adult session begins in 1 hour. Victor steps forward. That we're not here for class, Seagal. We're here for a challenge match. The remaining students murmur among themselves. Academy challenge matches are legendary and notorious. Stephen's expression doesn't change. This is not that kind of dojo. Victor smirks. Afraid to put your methods to the test? One of the academy instructors, a woman with a shaved head and eyes like flint, steps forward. The regional tournament committee has agreed to a special exhibition match. Your dojo against the academy. Winner takes home the Founder's Cup. The second instructor, a man built like a refrigerator, adds, and bragging rights, of course. Though we already know who the real fighters are, they look pointedly at the 3 young MMA students who stand uncertainly at the edge of the mat. Stephen remains still. Center point in a spinning room. My students train for self-mastery, not competition. Victor's smile widens. That's convenient. Tell me, do you still teach that nonsense about the greatest victory being the battle not fought? He steps onto the mat. Uninvited. Disrespectful. The real world doesn't work that way, old man. In the real world, you fight or you lose. The 3rd academy instructor, younger than the others, with hungry eyes, pulls out a phone. Starts recording. Several of Stephen's senior students move closer, protective of their teacher. Miyako at the front, her stance subtle but ready. Victor notices. Laughs. Look at them. Your loyal disciples. Have you told them the truth about you, Seagal? About what happened in Japan? A ripple passes through the dojo. Students exchange glances. This is new information. Stephen's voice remains calm, but carries an edge now. The past is the past. Victor turns to address the students directly. Did you know your precious sensei was expelled from his master's dojo in Japan? Kicked out for being too violent. Carter's eyes widen. He looks to Stephen for denial. Victor presses his advantage. Oh yes. The peaceful philosopher had quite the temper in his youth. Broke a man's arm in 3 places during what was supposed to be a friendly demonstration. Stephen's students look to him with confusion. This doesn't match the man they know. The woman with the shaved head adds, the great Steven Seagal. Too dangerous for the Japanese. Too soft for America. The refrigerator-sized man laughs. No wonder he hides in this little dojo, playing with children and teaching weak men to be weaker. Carter steps forward. Hands trembling slightly, but voice steadied. That's not true. Sensei teaches us real strength. Victor's attention snaps to Carter. Recognition dawns. Well, if it isn't the academy reject. Found a home with other losers, have you? Carter flinches, but holds his ground. The young instructor with the phone circles, capturing every reaction. See how the mighty have fallen, everyone? Steven Seagal, reduced to teaching washouts and children, the dojo falls silent. All eyes on Stephen. His face betrays nothing. But those who know him best, Miyako, A few senior students see the slight tension in his shoulders, the almost imperceptible shift in his stance. When he speaks, his voice is quiet, but it fills the room. You have disrupted my dojo, disrespected my students. You will leave now. Victor steps closer into Steven's space. Make me. The air thickens. Electricity before lightning. Steven doesn't move, doesn't blink. Violence only breathes. Violence. Victor. Victor snorts. More fortune cookie wisdom. You know what? You're right. We'll leave. He turns to go, then stops. Looks back at Steven's students. The exhibition match is in 2 weeks. Any of you with real fighting spirit are welcome to join us at the academy. We train warriors, not philosophers. The academy instructors file out. Victor last. At the door, he pauses. By the way, Principal Ward sends her regards. Says she's looking forward to adding your dojo's sign to her collection after you close down. After they leave, the dojo erupts in questions. Sensei, is it true? Were you expelled from Japan? Are we participating in the exhibition? Steven raises a hand. The room quiets. Today's class is dismissed. Please return tomorrow at the regular time. One by one, the students leave. Confused, unsettled, the 3 MMA fighters huddle together, whispering as they exit. Only Carter remains, standing uncertain in the center of the empty dojo. Sensei? Steven meets his eyes. Yes, I was asked to leave my master's dojo in Japan. Yes, I injured a man during practice. Carter swallows. Why? Steven's gaze grows distant some. Lessons can only be learned through consequences. He turns away. Conversation over. Carter leaves quietly. The dojo door slides shut behind him with a whisper. Alone, Steven kneels before the shrine. Not in meditation, but in memory. The black lacquered box sits before him. Open. The dojo feels hollow the next day. Half the students' missing whispers follow Steven through empty spaces. Doubt hangs in the air like incense. Carter arrives early again. Finds Steven performing kata, flowing forms that look simple until you try them. Perfect balance. Perfect control. Nothing wasted. Steven acknowledges him with a nod, but doesn't stop. Carter watches. Waits. When Steven finishes, he stands perfectly still. Breath even. Not a drop of sweat despite 30 minutes of continuous movement. You came back. Carter nods. I want to know the truth. Steven walks to the small office. Returns. With a faded photograph. Hands it to Carter. The same photo from the black box. Young Steven beside the elderly Japanese man in traditional hakama. That is Master Takeda. My teacher for 7 years in Osaka. Carter studies the photograph. The old man looks stern but kind. His hand on Steven's shoulder suggests pride. What happened? Steven takes back the photograph. His fingers trace the edge with unexpected tenderness. I was 26. Arrogant. Talented but unwise. He puts the photo away. Turns to face the shrine. There was another student. Kato. Skilled. Popular with the other students. Master Takeda's favorite. Steven's voice remains even, but something deeper runs beneath the words. Old currents stirring. During a demonstration, Kato challenged me. Not formally. Small things. Applying techniques too hard. Trying to make me look foolish. Carter listens, barely breathing. I should have let it go. Should have understood. Steven's eyes closed briefly. Instead, I responded. When it was my turn to demonstrate a joint lock, I applied too much pressure. Heard the snap before I felt it. The dojo seems to hold its breath with Carter. 3 breaks. In Kato's arm, Master Takeda was disappointed. Said I had betrayed the essence of Aikido. Asked me to leave Japan until I found my center again. Carter looks down at his own hands. Trying to imagine carrying such a weight for decades. So Victor was telling the truth. Steven nods once. The truth is rarely simple. He turns back to Carter. His eyes clear again now. The sword forms from yesterday. Show me. They train in silence. For an hour. Carter's movements smoother now. Beginning to understand the language of the forms. Later, when regular class begins, only 8 students appear. The 3 MMA fighters among the missing. Miyako arrives last. Her face grim. They've gone to the academy. Jackson convinced them they'd learn more there. Steven absorbs this news without reaction. Begins the class as always. But the emptiness of the dojo speaks louder than any words. After class, Miyako stays behind. She has been with Steven the longest. 15 years of dedication. You should tell them, Sensei. The whole story. Steven arranges practice mats with methodical precision. What purpose would it serve? Miyako helps with the mats. They work in practice tandem. They're confused. Victor's words have planted seeds of doubt. Steven pauses. Doubt is part of the path. Miyako stops, faces him directly. With respect, Sensei, this isn't about philosophy. This is about survival. The academy is trying to destroy us. Steven resumes his work. The dojo is not the building, not the students, not even the teacher. Miyako's patience phrase. Then what is it? Steven straightens, meets her eyes. The transmission of truth from one heart to another. Miyako sighs. This is an old conversation between them. Truth won't pay the rent. When all your students leave, she softens her tone. Let me help. I'll talk to the ones who left. Try to bring them back. Steven shakes his head. Each must find their own path. Frustration flashes across Miyako's face. Sometimes I think you want to fail. She leaves without another word. The door slides shut with more force than necessary. Steven stands alone in the empty dojo, perfectly still. Then his shoulders drop a fraction, a momentary surrender to gravity. That he goes to the office, opens the bottom drawer of his desk, removes the black lacquered box. This time he takes out not just the photograph, but the wooden tanto beneath it. 5 rings carved into the handle. The wood darkened by decades of hands. That a soft knock interrupts his thoughts. Carter stands at the office door, hesitant. That I forgot my water bottle. His eyes fix on the tanto in Steven's hand. That what's that? Steven considers the young man for a long moment. Then, come in. Close the door. Carter obeys. Stands awkwardly in the small space. Steven holds out the tanto. This belonged to Master Takeda. Before that, to his teacher. And so on back 10 generations. Carter takes it carefully, examines the simple, elegant craftsmanship. The 5 rings catch the light. That it's beautiful. Steven nods. It is the symbol of succession in our lineage. Passed from master to chosen student. Carter's eyes widen. He tries to hand it back, suddenly aware of its significance. That I shouldn't be touching this. Steven doesn't take it. Master Takeda gave this to me the day I left Japan. Carter's confusion is evident. But you said he asked you to leave. That he was disappointed. Steven's gaze grows distant again. That he was. But he also understood something I did not. He takes back the tanto, rewraps it in silk. Sometimes we must lose our way to find it. Carter watches as Steven returns the tanto to its box. Why are you showing me this? Steven closes the box. Looks up at Carter with clear eyes. Because you asked for truth. The next day, more students are missing. Only 6 remain. The dojo echoes with absence. Miyako arrives with news. The academy has announced their exhibition team. Victor is captain. 3 of our former students are on the roster. Steven nods, unsurprised. And Principal Ward. Miyako's expression darkens. She's giving interviews, talking about the decline of traditional martial arts and the necessity of evolution. Steven begins class as if nothing has changed. The loyal few train with extra intensity, as if to fill the empty spaces with effort. Afterward, Carter approaches Steven. I want to compete in the exhibition. Steven studies him. Why? Carter stands straighter. To show them there's another way. That what you teach has value. Steven shakes his head. Aikido is not about proving anything to anyone. Carter persists. Then I'll do it for myself. To face my fear. Steven is silent for a long moment. Then, come to the dojo tonight. 10 o'clock. Bring comfortable clothes. Not your GI. Carter nods, confused but willing. That night, the dojo is dark when Carter arrives. Only a single light burns in the office. That he finds Steven waiting, dressed not in his usual GI, but in simple black clothing. Practical, unobtrusive. Follow me. They leave through the back door. Walk in silence through quiet streets. The city sleeps around them. 10 blocks later, they arrive at their destination. The academy. Its modern glass and steel structure towers over neighboring buildings. Harsh fluorescent light spills from massive windows. Even at this hour, sounds of training echo from within. Steven leads Carter to a small park across the street. They sit on a bench with clear view of the academy's main training floor. Inside, Victor Kraus drills a dozen students. Among them, the 3 who left Steven's dojo. Their faces set in grim determination as they repeat striking combinations against heavy bags. Watch. For an hour, they observe. The training is intense, grueling. Several students vomit in trash cans between rounds. One collapses, is roughly helped up, pushed to continue. Victor stalks between them, criticizing, occasionally striking a student who performs poorly. Principal Ward appears briefly, observes with clinical detachment, makes notes on a tablet before leaving. Finally, Stephen stands. Enough. They walk back in silence. At the dojo, Stephen turns to Carter. What did you see? Carter considers carefully. I saw strength, endurance, but also, he struggles to articulate it, fear. They're all afraid of failing, of Victor, of each other. Stephen nods. Fear is a powerful teacher, but a poor master. Carter looks back in the direction of the academy, though it's no longer visible. Will I be ready for the exhibition? Stephen's answer is simple. No. Carter's face falls. Then why? Stephen interrupts, his voice gentle but firm. You won't be ready because readiness isn't the point. The outcome isn't the point. That he places a hand on Carter's shoulder, the same way Master Takeda's hand rested on his in the photograph. The point is the path you walk while all eyes are upon you. 1 week until the exhibition, the dojo quieter than ever. 5 students remain loyal beyond reason or simply stubborn. Stephen moves among them with the same patience he showed when the room was full, correcting a stance here, adjusting an angle there, his voice steady as a metronome. Miyako trains with fierce intensity, as if trying to compensate for the absent bodies, her techniques sharp as winter air. Carter works with an older student named Hiroshi, 72 years old but limber as a willow. They practice the sword forms Stephen has been teaching Carter. Hiroshi moves like water, each form flowing into the next with effortless precision. That you've been practicing these a long time. Hiroshi smiles. No wasted movement there either. 40 years since before Sensei opened this dojo. Carter's surprise must show on his face. Hiroshi continues. I trained with Master Takeda in Japan. Same as Sensei. Carter nearly drops his bakken. You knew Master Takeda? Hiroshi nods. Completes another form before answering. I was there when the incident happened. With Kato, the dojo seems to shrink around them. Carter lowers his voice. What was it really like? Sensei told me some, but Hiroshi glances towards Stephen, who is helping Miyako refine a complex throw. It wasn't as simple as breaking an arm. He sets his bakken down, sits on the mat with the easy grace of decades of practice. Carter joins him. Kato was Master Takeda's nephew, talented but cruel. He enjoyed causing pain during practice. Small things that could be explained away as accidents. Carter listens, rapt. Many students left because of him, but he was family. Protected. Hiroshi's eyes grow distant with memory until the demonstration. Kato had injured a young woman the day before, dislocated her shoulder unnecessarily. She quit that day, the 7th student to leave in a month. Carter glances again at Stephen, seeing him with new eyes. During the demonstration, Kato chose Sensei as his partner, tried to embarrass him with an off-curriculum technique. When Sensei countered perfectly, Kato grew angry, escalated, used a strike that was forbidden in the dojo. Hiroshi's voice drops further. Sensei defended himself, applied a standard joint lock, but Kato resisted, tried to reverse it. That's when the arm broke. Carter absorbs this, pieces falling into place. It was an accident. Hiroshi shakes his head. In Aikido, there are no accidents, only choices and consequences. Sensei chose to match Kato's intensity. The consequence was broken bones. Both were at fault in Master Takeda's eyes. The class ends. Students bow to Stephen, begin to leave. Hiroshi rises with that same fluid grace. There is more to the story, but that is for Sensei to tell. He pats Carter's shoulder and departs, leaving Carter alone with his thoughts. Stephen approaches, gestures to Carter's bakken. Your grip is improving. Carter stands, bows slightly. Thank you, Sensei. Hiroshi has been helping me. Something flickers across Stephen's face. Knowledge of the conversation, perhaps. Hiroshi carries much wisdom. Carter hesitates. Then, he told me about what happened with Kato, that he was Master Takeda's nephew, that he hurt other students. Stephen is silent for a moment. Then, Hiroshi sees. With clear eyes, Carter grips his bakken tighter. Why didn't you tell me the whole story? It changes everything. Stephen's response is gentle but firm. Does it? Would it change your path to know every stone that shaped mine? Carter has no answer for this. Stephen continues. The past informs, but does not define us. What matters is who we choose to be today. He holds out his hand for Carter's bakken. Enough training. Help me close the dojo. They work in companionable silence, cleaning mats, arranging equipment, preparing the space for tomorrow's absence. A.S. Carter helps Stephen in the office, organizing papers. He notices the black lacquered box on a shelf behind the desk. It sits open, the Tonto missing. Stephen follows his gaze. Curious? Carter nods, embarrassed at being caught looking. Where is it? The Tonto? Stephen closes a folder, places it carefully in a drawer. Safe. Before Carter can ask more, the front door slides open. Miyako's voice calls out, "Sensei? Are you still here?" Stephen moves to the main room. Carter follows. Miyako stands just inside the entrance. Behind her, a tall figure in a maintenance uniform. Gray-haired, weather-worn face. The janitor from the academy. This is Mr. Tanaka. He has something you need to hear. The janitor steps forward, bows deeply to Stephen. When he speaks, his accent is thickly Japanese. Seagal-san. I worked for Master Takeda many years ago. In Osaka. I remember you. Stephen's face shows rare surprise. He returns the bow. Tanaka-san. I remember you as well. The janitor straightens. I have been at the academy 3 years now. Cleaning floors. Fixing equipment. Invisible. His eyes hold Stephen's. They do not see me. So I see everything. Miyako interrupts. Impatient. Tell him what you told me. Tanaka nods. 2 nights ago, I was emptying trash in Principal Ward's office. She was speaking with Victor Krause. They did not know I was there. He clears his throat. They spoke of the exhibition. Of plans to humiliate you. Victor said he would target the boy. He nods toward Carter. Said he would make an example of him. That breaking one student would break the dojo. Carter's face drains of color. Stevens remains impassive. Tanaka continues. There is more. Principal Ward has made arrangements with the building owner. After the exhibition, when your reputation is damaged, she will offer to buy your lease. Double the current rate. Miyako's expression hardens. They're not just trying to beat us. They're trying to erase us. Stephen thanks Tanaka with another bow. The janitor returns it, then slips away as quietly as he arrived. Miyako turns to Stephen, eyes blazing. Now do you see? This isn't about philosophy or different paths. This is about greed. About power. Stephen's voice remains calm. IT has always been about power. Just not the kind they understand. Miyako makes a frustrated sound. Sometimes. I don't understand you either, Sensei. They're planning to hurt Carter. To take everything you've built. And you stand there talking in riddles. Stephen's gaze shifts to Carter, who stands very still. Processing what he's heard. Carter. Do you still wish to participate in the exhibition? Carter swallows hard. Nods. Yes, Sensei. Stephen studies him for a long moment. Then Miyako. Please bring my car around. We're closing early tonight. Miyako blinks in surprise. Stephen rarely drives anywhere. Where are we going? Stephen is already moving toward the office. Tio visit an old friend. 30 minutes later, they park outside a modest house in the suburbs. Japanese maple in the front yard. Stone lanterns lining the path to the door. Stephen leads Carter and Miyako to the entrance. Knocks 3 times. The door opens to reveal Hiroshi. He takes in the 3 visitors with raised eyebrows. Sensei. This is unexpected. Stephen bows slightly. Forgive the intrusion, old friend. We need to see it. Understanding dawns on Hiroshi's face. He steps aside. Of course. Come in. The interior is traditional Japanese style. Minimal furniture. Calligraphy scrolls on walls. The scent of green tea hangs in the air. Hiroshi leads them to a small room at the back of the house. A home dojo, perfectly maintained. In one corner, a glass case. Inside, the wooden tanto. 5 rings on the handle catching the light from small spotlights. But that's not all. Beside it sits a weathered scroll, unrolled to reveal elegant calligraphy and a red seal at the bottom. And next to the scroll, a black and white photograph. Much older than the one Stephen keeps in his box. In this photo, a young Master Takeda standing beside his teacher. And beside that teacher, an even older man. 5 generations of masters captured in 3 images. Hiroshi opens the case. Removes the tanto carefully. I've kept it safe. As promised, he hands it to Stephen, who accepts it with both hands. Reverence in the gesture. Miyako stares in confusion. I don't understand. Why does Hiroshi have your tanto? Stephen weighs the wooden knife in his palm. Because I gave it to him. For safekeeping. Hiroshi nods. After the incident with Kato, when Sensei was asked to leave Japan, Master Takeda entrusted him with the lineage Tanto, a sign that despite his error, the master still saw him as worthy. He gestures to the scroll. The certificate names him as the legitimate heir to our tradition. Stephen adds quietly, but I felt unworthy. Gave the Tanto to Hiroshi until I found my center again. Hiroshi's smile is gentle. 30 years I've kept it, waiting for him to reclaim his heritage. Carter looks between them. And now? Stephen turns the Tanto, examining the 5 rings. Now Principal Ward and Victor Krause threaten not just my dojo, but the legacy of 5 generations. For the first time, a hint of steel enters his voice. Some things cannot be allowed to fade. He slides the Tanto into his belt, bows deeply to Hiroshi. Thank you, old friend, for your patience, your wisdom. Hiroshi returns the bow. The student becomes the master when he is ready. Not before they leave. Miyako touches Stephen's arm. What will you do? Stephen looks back at the house, at the Japanese maple catching the last light of day. What I should have done years ago. In the car, Carter breaks the silence. Sensei, about the exhibition. What Victor plans to do? Stephen interrupts gently. You know what the 5 rings represent? Carter shakes his head. 5 elements. Earth, water, fire, wind, void. 5 ways of understanding conflict. 5 paths to mastery. His hand rests on the Tanto at his belt. Master Takeda believed true strength comes not from dominating others, but from perfect alignment with these elements. Carter absorbs this, then asks, which element will I need? At the exhibition, Stephen's answer is simple. All of them. He starts the car. The engine hums to life, and one thing more. Something Victor has forgotten. Miyako leans forward from the back seat. What's that, Sensei? Stephen pulls away from Hiroshi's house. The Japanese maple disappears behind them. That true victory lies not in defeating an enemy, but in making peace with yourself. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from. Hiroshi smiles. No wasted movement there either. 40 years since before Sensei opened this dojo. Carter's surprise must show on his face. Hiroshi continues. I trained with Master Takeda in Japan. Same as Sensei. Carter nearly drops his bakken. You knew Master Takeda? Hiroshi nods. Completes another form before answering. I was there when the incident happened. With Kato, the dojo seems to shrink around them. Carter lowers his voice. What was it really like? Sensei told me some, but Hiroshi glances towards Stephen, who is helping Miyako refine a complex throw. It wasn't as simple as breaking an arm. He sets his bakken down, sits on the mat with the easy grace of decades of practice. Carter joins him. Kato was Master Takeda's nephew. Talented but cruel. He enjoyed causing pain during practice. Small things that could be explained away as accidents. Carter listens. Rapt, many students left because of him. But he was family. Protected. Hiroshi's eyes grow distant with memory until the demonstration. Kato had injured a young woman the day before. Dislocated her shoulder unnecessarily. She quit that day. The 7th student to leave in a month. Carter glances again at Stephen, seeing him with new eyes. During the demonstration, Kato chose Sensei as his partner. Tried to embarrass him with an off-curriculum technique. When Sensei countered perfectly, Kato grew angry. Escalated. Used a strike that was forbidden in the dojo. Hiroshi's voice drops further. Sensei defended himself. Applied a standard joint lock. But Kato resisted. Tried to reverse it. That's when the arm broke. Carter absorbs this. Pieces falling in a place. It was an accident. Hiroshi shakes his head. In Aikido, there are no accidents. Only choices and consequences. Sensei chose to match Kato's intensity. The consequence was broken bones. Both were at fault in Master Takeda's eyes. The class ends. Students bow to Stephen. Begin to leave. Hiroshi rises with that same fluid grace. There is more to the story. But that is for Sensei to tell. He pats Carter's shoulder and departs, leaving Carter alone with his thoughts. Stephen approaches. Gestures to Carter's bakken. Your grip is improving. Carter stands. Bows slightly. Thank you, Sensei. Hiroshi has been helping me. Something flickers across Stephen's face. Knowledge of the conversation, perhaps. Hiroshi carries much wisdom. Carter hesitates. Then, he told me about what happened with Kato. That he was Master Takeda's nephew. That he hurt other students. Stephen is silent for a moment. Then, Hiroshi sees. With clear eyes, Carter grips his bakken tighter. Why didn't you tell me the whole story? It changes everything. Steven's response is gentle but firm. Does it? Would it change your path to know every stone that shaped mine? Carter has no answer for this. Stephen continues. The past informs, but does not define us. What matters is who we choose to be today. He holds out his hand for Carter's Bakken. Enough training. Help me close the dojo. They work in companionable silence. Cleaning mats. Arranging equipment. Preparing the space for tomorrow's absence. A.S. Carter helps Stephen in the office, organizing papers. He notices the black lacquered box on a shelf behind the desk. It sits open. The Tonto missing. Stephen follows his gaze. Curious? Carter nods, embarrassed at being caught looking. Where is it? The Tonto. Stephen closes a folder. Places it carefully in a drawer. Safe. Before Carter can ask more, the front door slides open. Miyako's voice calls out. Sensei? Are you still here? Stephen moves to the main room. Carter follows. Miyako stands just inside the entrance. Behind her, a tall figure in a maintenance uniform. Gray-haired, weather-worn face. The janitor from the academy. This is Mr. Tanaka. He has something you need to hear. The janitor steps forward. Bows deeply to Stephen. When he speaks, his accent is thickly Japanese. Seagal-san. I worked for Master Takeda many years ago. In Osaka. I remember you. Stephen's face shows rare surprise. He returns the bow. Tanaka-san. I remember you as well. The janitor straightens. I have been at the academy 3 years now. Cleaning floors. Fixing equipment. Invisible. His eyes hold Stephen's. They do not see me. So I see everything. Miyako interrupts. Impatient. Tell him what you told me. Tanaka nods. 2 nights ago, I was emptying trash in Principal Ward's office. She was speaking with Victor Krause. They did not know I was there. He clears his throat. They spoke of the exhibition. Of plans to humiliate you. Victor said he would target the boy. He nods toward Carter. Said he would make an example of him. That breaking one student would break the dojo. Carter's face drains of color. Stevens remains impassive. Tanaka continues. There is more. Principal. Ward has made arrangements with the building owner. After the exhibition, when your reputation is damaged, she will offer to buy your lease. Double the current rate. Miyako's expression hardens. They're not just trying to beat us. They're trying to erase us. Stephen thanks Tanaka with another bow. The janitor returns it, then slips away as quietly as he arrived. Miyako turns to Stephen, eyes blazing. Now do you see? This isn't about philosophy or different paths. This is about greed. About power. Stephen's voice remains calm. It has always been about power. Just not the kind they understand. Miyako makes a frustrated sound. Sometimes. I don't understand you either, Sensei. They're planning to hurt Carter. To take everything you've built. And you stand there talking in riddles. Stephen's gaze shifts to Carter, who stands very still. Processing what he's heard. Carter. Do you still wish to participate in the exhibition? Carter. Swallows hard. Nods. Yes, Sensei. Stephen studies him for a long moment. Then Miyako. Please bring my car around. We're closing early tonight. Miyako blinks in surprise. Stephen rarely drives anywhere. Where are we going? Stephen is already moving toward the office. Tio visit an old friend. 30 minutes later, they park outside a modest house in the suburbs. Japanese maple in the front yard. Stone lanterns lining the path to the door. Stephen leads Carter and Miyako to the entrance. Knocks 3 times. The door opens to reveal Hiroshi. He takes in the 3 visitors with raised eyebrows. Sensei. This is unexpected. Stephen bows slightly. Forgive the intrusion, old friend. We need to see it. Understanding dawns on Hiroshi's face. He steps aside. Of course. Come in. The interior is traditional Japanese style. Minimal furniture. Calligraphy scrolls on walls. The scent of green tea hangs in the air. Hiroshi leads them to a small room at the back of the house. A home dojo, perfectly maintained. In one corner, a glass case. Inside, the wooden tanto. 5 rings on the handle catching the light from small spotlights. But that's not all. Beside it sits a weathered scroll, unrolled to reveal elegant calligraphy and a red seal at the bottom. And next to the scroll, a black and white photograph. Much older than the one Stephen keeps in his box. In this photo, a young Master Takeda standing beside his teacher. And beside that teacher, an even older man. 5 generations of masters captured in 3 images. Hiroshi opens the case. Removes the tanto carefully. I've kept it safe, as promised. He hands it to Steven, who accepts it with both hands. Reverence in the gesture. Miyako stares in confusion that I don't understand. Why does Hiroshi have your tanto? Steven weighs the wooden knife in his palm. Because I gave it to him. For safekeeping. Hiroshi nods. After the incident with Kato, when Sensei was asked to leave Japan, Master Takeda entrusted him with the lineage tanto. A sign that despite his error, the master still saw him as worthy. He gestures to the scroll. The certificate names him as the legitimate heir to our tradition. Steven adds quietly, but I felt unworthy. Gave the tanto to Hiroshi until I found my center again. Hiroshi's smile is gentle. 30 years I've kept it. Waiting for him to reclaim his heritage. Carter looks between them. And now? Steven turns the tanto, examining the 5 rings. Now Principal Ward and Victor Krause threaten not just my dojo, but the legacy of 5 generations. For the first time, a hint of steel enters his voice. Some things cannot be allowed to fade. He slides the tanto into his belt. Bows deeply to Hiroshi. Thank you, old friend, for your patience, your wisdom. Hiroshi returns the bow. The student becomes the master when he is ready. Not before. As they leave, Miyako touches Steven's arm. What will you do? Steven looks back at the house. At the Japanese maple catching the last light of day. What I should have done years ago. In the car, Carter breaks the silence. Sensei, about the exhibition. What Victor plans to do? Steven interrupts gently. You know what the 5 rings represent? Carter shakes his head. 5 elements. Earth, water, fire, wind, void. 5 ways of understanding conflict. 5 paths to mastery. His hand rests on the tanto at his belt. Master Takeda believed true strength comes not from dominating others, but from perfect alignment with these elements. Carter absorbs this, then asks, which element will I need? At the exhibition, Steven's answer is simple. All of them. He starts the car. The engine hums to life, and one thing more. Something Victor has forgotten. Miyako leans forward from the back seat. What's that, Sensei? Steven pulls away from Hiroshi's house. The Japanese maple disappears behind them. That true victory lies not in defeating an enemy, but in making peace with yourself. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from. The day of the exhibition arrives. Clear skies, mild breeze, perfect weather for imperfect purposes. The community center auditorium buzzes with anticipation. 200 seats filled. Standing room only at the back. Word has spread about the clash between the academy and Steven Seagal's traditional dojo. Local news, social media, the martial arts grapevine, all humming with the same electricity. Tradition versus innovation. Old versus new. The enigmatic Steven Seagal against the dynamic Victor Krause. Carter sits in a small preparation room, hands trembling slightly as he adjusts his GI. The past week has been a blur of intensive training. Forms and techniques he's practiced hundreds of times. Steven's voice a constant guide, not strength. Connection, not speed. Timing, not technique. Intention. The door opens. Miyako enters. Her face tight with concern. They're nearly ready to begin. The academy team is warming. Up in the main hall, Carter nods. Tries to still his hands. How many? Miyako understands the question. 5. Victor and 4 students, including Jackson. She hesitates, then adds, our 3 former students are in the audience. Not competing. Carter absorbs this. Small mercies. And Sensei? Miyako shakes her head that he hasn't arrived yet. Carter's stomach twists. What if he doesn't come? Miyako straightens his GI collar. A surprisingly maternal gesture from the usually stern woman that he will come. But her eyes betray doubt. In the main hall, Principal Eleanor Ward addresses the crowd. Crisp black suit. Silver hair pulled back severely. Voice amplified by a wireless microphone. Welcome to this special exhibition match between Red Rock Martial Arts Academy and traditional practitioners. The pause before the last word speaks volumes. Several audience members shift uncomfortably. Today we witness the evolution of martial arts. From philosophical abstraction to practical application. From the past to the future. She gestures to one side of the demonstration area where Victor Krause stands with his team. 5 figures in matching red GIs. Muscles tensed. Eyes hungry. The academy team has trained rigorously for this demonstration. They represent the cutting edge of combat sports methodology. Science-based. Results-driven. Her gaze shifts to the other side. Empty, but for Miyako, who has just emerged from the preparation room. It seems our traditional counterparts are understaffed today. Laughter ripples through sections of the audience. Principal Ward's smile sharpens. Nevertheless, we will proceed. First, a demonstration of academy techniques by our head combat instructor, Victor Kraus. Victor steps forward, bows perfunctorily to the audience, begins a series of explosive movements. Strikes, kicks, takedowns performed with a training partner, each technique ending with a simulated finishing blow. The display is impressive. Undeniable athletic prowess. Raw power channeled into devastating combinations. Applause follows. Victor basks in it, eyes scanning the crowd. Lingering on empty spaces where Stephen should be. As the applause fades, Principal Ward returns to center stage. And now, representing the traditional approach, we have. She glances at her notes with theatrical confusion. A single student? Is that correct? Miyako steps forward. Two students. Myself and Carter Walsh. Principal Ward's eyebrows rise. Just two? And where is your sensei? Ms. Miyako. Before she can answer, the main doors at the back of the auditorium open. Steven Seagal enters. Not in his usual white GI, but in traditional Japanese hakama. Black top, flowing black trousers. The formal attire of a master. His belt, the wooden tanto. 5 rings catching the light. The crowd murmurs as he walks down the center aisle. Unhurried, each step deliberate. Eyes forward, Principal Ward recovers. Quickly. Mr. Seagal. We were beginning to think you wouldn't join us. Stephen reaches the demonstration area. Bows first to the audience. Then, precisely enough to satisfy protocol but not a degree more, to Principal Ward. Traffic, his voice carries. Without effort. A few chuckles from the audience. Principal Ward's smile remains fixed. Well, now that everyone is here, let's proceed with the individual demonstrations. First up, Carter Walsh against Jackson Chun. Carter emerges from the preparation room. Crosses to the demonstration area. His GI simple. White. Clean. His face composed despite the churning in his stomach. Jackson steps forward from the academy team. Whispers as they face each other. Ready to get embarrassed. Washout. The referee, a local tournament official, explains the rules. Point-based competition. Clean techniques only. Respect at all times. He looks between the two competitors. Bow and begin when ready. They bow. Jackson's barely a nod. Carter's proper and deep. Jackson attacks immediately. A flurry of strikes. Aggressive. Confident. Pushing Carter back toward the edge of the mat. Carter defends. Not perfectly. Takes glancing. Hits to shoulder, ribs. But remains upright. Centered. The week of intensive training evident in his improved movements. Jackson grows frustrated. Increases pressure. Throws a spinning kick that catches Carter on the hip. He stumbles, but doesn't fall. 1 point. Academy. Jackson. Smirks. Circles like a predator. From the sidelines, Victor calls out. Finish him, Jackson. Stop playing. Jackson nods. Charges forward with a combination that's worked countless times in the academy training hall. This is the moment Carter has prepared. 4. The moment Stephen drilled into his muscle memory over endless repetitions. As Jackson closes distance. Carter pivots slightly. Just enough. Jackson's punch grazes air where Carter's jaw had been a millisecond before. The momentum carries Jackson forward. Carter's hand touches Jackson's elbow. Gentle as a butterfly landing. Jackson finds himself off balance, stumbling, his own force turned against him. The audience gasps. The movement identical to what Stephen used against Victor during their first encounter at the dojo. 1 point. Traditional. Victor's face darkens. Principal Ward leans forward in her seat. Jackson recovers. Faces Carter with new respect in his eyes. And new determination. They engage again. This time Jackson is cautious. Probing. Looking for weaknesses. Carter doesn't attack. Doesn't advance. Simply maintains his center. Waiting. Jackson feints left, strikes right. A combination drilled 1,000 times. Carter reads it perfectly. Moves minimally. Jackson finds himself grabbing emptiness. Overextended. Vulnerable. Carter applies the gentlest pressure at exactly the right points. Jackson's world shifts. The ceiling replaces the floor. He lands flat on his back. 2 points. Traditional. The crowd erupts. This isn't what they expected. The academy student, Younger, stronger, more aggressive, being outmaneuvered by the supposed washout. Victor stands rigidly at the sideline. Knuckles white. Principal Ward's smile has vanished entirely. Jackson scrambles up, face flushed with humiliation and rage. The referee calls for them to continue. This time Jackson abandons technique. Charges like a bull. All control sacrificed for power and speed. Carter attempts to redirect again, but Jackson is ready. Counters the movement. Grabs Carter's GI. Uses superior strength to throw him hard to the mat. 2 points. Academy. Match tied. Carter lands awkwardly. Pain flares in his shoulder. He rises slowly. Jackson circles, confidence restored, just like the Academy. Too soft when it counts. The final exchange begins. Jackson measured now. Dangerous. Finding the balance between control and aggression. Carter's injury affects his movement. He winces when raising his left arm to defend. Jackson targets the weakness. Feints high, strikes low. Drives Carter back with a combination too fast to counter properly. Carter stumbles. Falls to one knee. Jackson moves in for the finishing point from the sideline. Steven's voice cuts through the tension. Earth, Carter, just 2 words. But Carter's body responds instantly. He sinks lower. Grounds himself. Jackson's kick passes over his head as Carter drops fully to the mat. Jackson's momentum carries him forward. Off balance again. Water. Carter flows upward. Liquid movement around Jackson's extended leg. Fire. Contact. Precise application of energy. Against Jackson's center of gravity. Wind. Carter's hands guide rather than force. Jackson's trajectory altered. His own power redirected. Void. Perfect positioning. Absence creating opportunity. Carter simply isn't where Jackson expects him to be. The Academy student crashes to the mat. Hard enough that the audience winces collectively. Match. Point. Traditional. Winner. Carter Walsh. The crowd erupts again. Louder this time. More surprised. More appreciative. Carter helps Jackson to his feet. Bows respectfully. Jackson hesitates, then returns the bow. Grudging recognition in his eyes. Principal Ward consults urgently with Victor. Their expressions thunderous. This was not the script they had written. The referee announces. Next match. Miyako Tanaka versus. Victor interrupts. Steps forward. Change of plans. I'll take this match myself. The referee frowns. That's not the agreed order. Victor cuts him off. That it's an exhibition. We're exhibiting. I choose to face the woman. Principal Ward nods approval. The referee reluctantly agrees. Miyako steps onto the mat. Calm. Prepared. She has trained with Steven for 15 years. Knows his methods better than anyone except Hiroshi. Victor towers over her. 6'3" of muscle and malice. The scar on his face livid under the bright lights. They bow. Victor's barely perceptible. Miyako's proper but not subservient. The match begins. Victor doesn't hold back. No feeling out process. No respect for his smaller opponent. Immediate commitment to overwhelming force. Miyako moves like wind through grass. Redirecting. Avoiding. Making Victor's strength work against him. But Victor is skilled. Adapts quickly. When direct attacks fail, he switches to feints. Drawing responses, then countering the counters. 1 point. Academy. Miyako nods to herself. Recalibrates. The next exchange more cautious from both sides. Victor grows impatient. Pushes pace. Forces Miyako to retreat. Corners her against the edge of the mat. 1 point. Academy. The crowd murmurs. The natural order reasserting itself. David doesn't always beat Goliath. Steven watches impassively from the sideline. The Tonto. Visible at his belt. 5 rings catching the light. Victor, confident now, presses his advantage. Miyako defends skillfully, but gives ground. Her technique perfect, but overwhelmed by superior power and reach. Match point approaching. Victor lunges. With a combination that has broken through Miyako's defense twice already. But this time, she's ready. Instead of retreating, she enters, moving toward the attack. Into the void between techniques. 1 point. Traditional. Victor's eyes narrow. Reassesses his opponent. Respect reluctantly entering his calculation. The next exchange more technical. A chess match at high speed. Victor probing for weaknesses. Miyako revealing none. Time running down. Victor forces the action. A flurry of strikes designed to overwhelm. Miyako weathers the storm. Bent but not broken. When an opening appears, she counters perfectly. Point 1 point, traditional. Match tied. Point 15 seconds remain. Victor abandons strategy. Pure aggression now. Determined to score at any cost. Miyako attempts her entering technique again. Victor is ready. Counters with brutal efficiency. The throw is harder than necessary. Miyako lands awkwardly. A cry of pain escapes her as shoulder meets mat with full force. Match point, Academy. Winner, Victor Kraus. Victor raises his arms in triumph. The Academy team cheers. Principal Ward smiles with cold satisfaction, but the crowd's response is muted. They've seen the unnecessary roughness. The disrespect. Miyako rises slowly. Clearly injured, but dignified. Bows to Victor despite his back being turned in celebration. As the applause fades, Principal Ward takes center stage again. An excellent demonstration of modern versus traditional techniques. I think the results speak for themselves. She turns to Steven, who has helped Miyako from the mat. Perhaps Mr. Seagal would like to offer his perspective on what we've witnessed today. The invitation dripping with condescension. Steven looks up, studies Principal Ward for a long moment, then nods once. I would. Steven Seagal steps forward. The auditorium falls silent. His presence fills the space without effort. The wooden tanto at his belt catches the light as he moves. Principal Ward gestures magnanimously. The floor is yours, Mr. Seagal. Her smile suggests she expects surrender. Acknowledgement of superiority. The traditional bowing to the modern. Instead, Steven turns to address the audience directly. Today you've witnessed two approaches to martial arts. One focused on dominance, one on harmony. His voice carries without strain. Years of teaching have given it resonance. But there's something you haven't seen. The foundation beneath both approaches. He removes the tanto from his belt, holds it where all can see. This training knife represents 5 generations of knowledge, 5 elements of mastery. Victor interrupts with a dismissive laugh. Are we getting a history lesson now? Save it for your empty dojo, old man. Steven continues. As if he hadn't spoken. 30 years ago in Japan, I made a mistake. Allowed anger to overcome wisdom. It cost me my place in my master's dojo. The audience listens, rapt. This is not what they expected. Master Takeda sent me away to find my center. But before I left, he gave me this. He holds the tanto higher. A symbol of lineage, of trust, that despite my error, I might someday prove worthy of what he taught. Steven turns now to face Victor directly. The same Master Takeda who, 20 years earlier, expelled another student for similar reasons. A student named Daisuke Kraus. Victor's face drains of color. The scar standing out in stark relief. A ripple passes through the audience. Connections forming. Steven's voice remains even. Your father never told you he trained under Master Takeda? That he was asked to leave after injuring 3 students in a single month? Victor's shock transforms to rage. You're lying. My father was a champion. Steven nods. He became one. After rejecting the path of harmony for the path of dominance, he steps closer to Victor. I recognize his techniques in you. The same power, the same precision. His voice softens slightly, and the same fear beneath the anger. Victor lunges forward, stops just short of contact, vibrating with fury. I'm not afraid of anything, especially not you. Steven's response is gentle. Not me, Victor. Yourself. The knowledge that power without harmony is just violence waiting to happen. He turns back to the audience. What you've witnessed today isn't a contest between old and new. It's the eternal struggle between 2 approaches to power. Steven raises the tanto one final time. Master Takeda believed true victory comes not from defeating others, but from mastering yourself. Not from proving strength, but from finding balance. He returns the tanto to his belt. Why student Carter demonstrated this today. Not perfect technique, not overwhelming power, but harmony between intention and action. Principal Ward attempts to regain control. A lovely speech, Mr. Seagal. But the results remain. Your approach lost today. Steven turns to her with clear eyes. Did it? What exactly was won here? What was lost? Before she can answer, the Academy's 3 former students from Steven's dojo stand up in the audience. One speaks. Sensei Seagal. We made a mistake leaving your dojo. Would you accept us back? Principal Ward's face hardens. This public defection unexpected. Steven bows slightly to the students. The door remains open to all who seek harmony over dominance. Victor can contain himself. No longer. Steps forward aggressively. Enough philosophy. If your way is so powerful, prove it. Right now, you and me. The challenge hangs in the air. The audience holds its breath. Stephen studies Victor for a long moment. Then, I have nothing to prove, Victor. And neither do you. That he extends his hand. Your father's path is not the only one available to you. Victor stares at the offered hand. Conflict visible on his face. The scar pulsing with each heartbeat. A choice hangs in the balance. Violence or harmony? Past or future? The auditorium waits. Victor's hand trembles at his side. The audience watches, transfixed. 200 people, holding their breath. Principal Ward's voice cuts through the silence. Sharp as a blade. This is absurd. Victor, in this nonsense. But Victor doesn't move. His eyes locked on Stephen's extended hand. The scar on his face seeming to pulse with each heartbeat. When he finally speaks, his voice sounds different. Younger. Somehow. Less certain. My father. He never talked about Japan. About Aikido. Only about winning. About being stronger than everyone else. Stephen's hand remains steady. His voice gentle but clear. There is strength in harmony. Victor, your father forgot that. You don't have to. For a moment longer, the outcome hangs in balance. Then Victor's hand rises. Clasps Stephen's. Not a surrender. Not exactly friendship. But acknowledgement. Recognition. The audience exhales collectively. Applause begins. Scattered at first, then building. Relief and appreciation for something unexpected. Something authentic. Principal Ward's face is a storm cloud. She steps forward, tries to interrupt. This is not the conclusion of our exhibition, but her words are lost in the applause. The moment belongs to Stephen and Victor now. To the unexpected bridge forming between opposed philosophies, Victor steps back, bows properly to Stephen for the first time. Stephen returns it with equal respect. The official exhibition ends there. Not with a declaration of winners and losers, but with a handshake, a bow, a moment of connection. Afterward, in the community center lobby, students and spectators gather around Stephen. Questions. Congratulations. Requests for instruction. Carter stands at his teacher's side. Shoulders sore, but spirit lifted. Miyako nearby, arm in a sling, but smile intact. Victor approaches through the crowd. The academy team hanging back, uncertain in this new reality. That he stops before Stephen. Still, struggling with his transformation. Still the same man he was that morning, yet fundamentally changed. That I want to understand more. About Master Takeda. About my father's time there. Stephen nods. Come to the dojo tomorrow. We'll talk. Victor hesitates. Then, I can't promise to change everything. The academy. It's still my home. Stephen's response is simple. Change begins with a single step. Direction matters more than distance. Principal Ward watches from across the lobby. Her carefully constructed narrative in shambles. The academy's dominance questioned. Her methods exposed. She approaches, steel in her spine and ice in her voice. This changes nothing, Mr. Seagal. The martial arts world is evolving. Traditional methods are dying out. Today was merely a stay of execution. Stephen regards her calmly. Perhaps. But traditions endure for a reason, Ms. Ward. They carry wisdom we forget at our peril. He touches the tanto at his belt point. 5 elements. 5 generations. The circle continues. She leaves without another word. Plans already forming for damage control. For regaining lost ground. 3 months later, the community center installs a new display case in its main hallway. Inside, photographs of dojos throughout the city's history. Articles about various martial arts traditions. A section dedicated to Master Takeda's lineage, and in the center, the wooden tanto. 5 rings catching the light. On loan from Steven Seagal's dojo, now filled with students again. Beneath it, a simple plaque. True victory lies not in defeating an enemy, but in making peace with yourself. Carter stands before the display case. No longer a beginner. Not yet a master. A student on the path. Beside him, Victor Krause. Still teaching at the academy, but spending 2 evenings a week at Stephen's dojo. Learning what his father rejected. Finding balance. Stephen approaches silently. Stands between them. What do you see? Carter studies the tanto. The 5 rings. Legacy. Victor's answer comes more slowly. Still finding his way to these truths. Connection. Stephen nods. Satisfied, both correct, the three turn away from the display case. Walk together down the hallway. Different paths converging, if only for a moment. Behind them, the Tonto gleams beneath the lights. 5 rings. 5 elements. 5 generations. The circle continues. What would you do if the man everyone laughed? That was the most dangerous person in the room. Not dangerous with fists or feet, but with wisdom that cuts deeper than any blade, with patience outlasting any aggression, with harmony defeating discord. 1 year after the exhibition, Steven Seagal's dojo hums with activity. Twice the students as before. All ages. All backgrounds. United by curiosity about a different way of understanding conflict. Carter leads the beginner class now. His movements fluid. Confidence not in dominating others, but in knowing himself. The academy washout now a respected teacher. I in the corner, 3 young fighters practice together. The same ones who once whispered mockingly about their sensei. Now they listen. Now they learn. Victor Krause enters through the side door. No longer a stranger here. Not fully converted to Steven's philosophy, but no longer its enemy. He carries elements of both approaches now. Power tempered by wisdom, aggression balanced with restraint. The scar on his face has faded slightly. Or perhaps it's just less noticeable when he smiles, which he does more frequently now that he bows to Steven, who acknowledges him with a nod. They move to the center of the mat. Students form a circle around them. This has become a monthly tradition. The demonstration of unified principles, as Steven calls it, techniques flowing between traditional Aikido and modern fighting methods. Not opponents, but partners in exploration, showing how seeming opposites can inform and strengthen each other. Principal Ward has adapted too, in her way. The academy still emphasizes competition, still trains champions. But there's less talk of domination now, more acknowledgement of mental aspects, of balance. She never visits Steven's dojo. Probably never will. But she no longer actively works against it. A cold peace, but peace nonetheless. After the demonstration, Steven addresses his students. Power exists in many forms. The power to defeat others is only one kind, and perhaps the least interesting. That he gestures to Victor beside him. The power to overcome your own limitations. That is the true challenge. To recognize when strength becomes weakness. When victory becomes defeat. Victor nods, still finding his way to these truths, but recognizing their value. Steven continues. Master Takeda believed harmony was not the absence of conflict, but its proper resolution. Not avoiding opposition, but moving with it, through it, beyond it. He touches the empty space at his belt where the Tonto once hung. 5 elements. Earth teaches us to remain grounded. Water to flow around obstacles. Fire to transform energy. Wind to maintain freedom of movement. Void to find opportunity in emptiness. The students listen intently. Even the newest ones sensing the weight of what's being transmitted. Not just physical techniques, but a philosophy. A way of seeing the world. Later, Steven walks alone through the quiet dojo. After hours, shadows gathering in corners. He moves to the small shrine at the front wall, where once hung only the photograph of himself with Master Takeda. Now hangs a second image. Steven standing between Carter and Victor after the exhibition. 3 generations of a lineage that nearly broke but found renewal instead. Master Takeda's voice seems to whisper from the past. The greatest victory is the battle not fought. Steven nods to himself, understanding deeper now than when he first heard those words decades ago. Outside, the city continues its rhythms. Conflicts arise and resolve. Power shifts and transforms. The eternal dance of opposing forces seeking balance. Inside the dojo, Steven Seagal moves through the empty space. Not a famous movie star, not a caricature, but a man who found his center after losing it, who teaches others to do the same. This is why real fighters fear Steven Seagal, not for his physical prowess, though that remains formidable, not for his techniques, though they are refined by decades, but for his understanding that true power lies in harmony and the courage to extend a hand instead of making a fist, in the wisdom to choose peace when violence would be easier. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe.